We are Dexian, in the business for good.
For the first panel discussion of the day, may I now have Mr. Rohit onto the stage from Dexian. This panel discussion is on digital transformation. We're super excited for the same. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for this exciting panel discussion. The topic is the impact of Gen AI on digital transformation. My name is Rohit Tiwari, and I lead the sales for Dexian India. At Dexian, we are at the forefront of helping organizations navigate digital transformation. Our vision is to empower organizations to become more agile, data-driven, and future-ready through advanced technology solutions. Whether it's through cloud transformations, AI/ML integration, or cybersecurity, we believe in driving growth through innovation. Digital transformation isn't just a buzzword for us. It's about enabling businesses to think how they can operate, engage with the clients, and scale to the new heights. Now let's take a moment to explore digital transformation landscape. As the world becomes more connected, the demand for rapid, sustainable change grows. The global market expanding quickly and fueled by Gen AI, automation, and data analytics. Across industries, adopting to these technologies is essential to stay competitive. At Dexian, we help businesses thrive in this dynamic digital era. We are fortunate to have an incredible group of experts with us today to share their insights and thoughts with us. Requesting our honorable speakers, panelists, to join us on the stage. First, I would like to invite Dr. Ravindra, who is a true inspiration for us. Dr. Ravindra is a polio and paralysis survivor and founder of the 100 Billion Smiles Foundation, with over 35 patents and doctorate in AI impact on autistic brain, and groundbreaking inventions like the world's most affordable power wheelchair. His resilience and innovations are unmatched. Dr. Ravindra, it's an honor to have you over here. Next, we have Mr. Vikram Venkateshwaran, a partner at Big Four consulting firm in India. With over 25 years of experience in healthcare and technology, a leader in cloud-based AI-driven platform, Vikram has transformed how businesses manage risk and cost and was recognized among India's top 50 healthcare strategists. Mr. Vikram, we're honored to have you over here, sir. Joining us next is Mr. Sukumar Rajagopal, co-founder of Tiny Magic and transformative leader with 33 years of experience in IT industry. During his 90 years of tenure at Cognizant, he led two $1 billion plus programs, one Cognizant as global CIO and managed innovation as head of innovation, and earned accolades like the Computer World Premier 100 IT Leaders Award and Huffington Post Top 100 Social CIOs. Mr. Sukumar, we welcome you on the stage. Finally, we have Ashutosh Bhatia, our Global Head of Digital Practices at Dexian, an expert in digital strategy with over 2 decades of experience in leading technology transformations. From cloud adoption to AI/ML, Ashu has helped businesses foster innovation and optimize IT investments. Ashu is also a published author of his book. Ashu, welcome on stage. And finally, I'd like to introduce our host for today, Mr. Naman Kher, Vice President and Head of IT Solutions at Dexian. Naman has consistently driven global business growth and operational excellence, achieving 30% growth year on year. Naman is not only a proven leader, but has been expert in bringing business and technology. He has a proven track record of managing multi-million-dollar projects for Fortune 100 customers. Naman, welcome to the stage. Thanks, Naman. Over to you.
Thank you, Rohit, for the generous introduction. I'm sure my parents would be proud if they were here that I was finally able to impress somebody outside the family. Thank you. And I promise we didn't pay him for that. So, Well, good evening to everybody, and welcome to our session for generative AI and digital transformation. Gen AI is reshaping industries, as you would know, rewriting playbooks, and if we are honest, quite scarily asking us to Google, will AI take our jobs? And it's happening, actually. Introducing our exceptional leaders and visionaries who are reshaping the world by applying Gen AI into the real lives. Now, evolution of Gen AI is real, if you see. AI has transitioned from being reactive to adaptive. Look at Copilot. Who would have thought that Copilot would write your emails, tone it up and down? People are using it for contract writing, proposal writing, and well, if you see GitHub Copilot, it can also write code. Gen AI anticipates needs, disrupts output processes, and charts new direction for innovation and growth. Example, fraud detection in finance, content creation in marketing, and I can promise most of the LinkedIn posts are coming from Gen AI. It's no longer a theory, isn't it? It's real, it's actionable. I can bet $200, 90% of the people in the room are using ChatGPT. I presume I won the bet, didn't I? And that reminds me of a quote from a client where she said, Naman, Gen AI is just like my unsupervised teen who's now becoming a matured adult. With that being said, let's hear from our visionary panelist. My first question goes to Dr. Ravindra, if that's okay. Dr. Ravindra, you have the mic? Perfect. So Dr. Ravindra, the question to you is, as generative AI platforms become more conversational and empathetic, what are the key strategies to ensure that human-like interactions genuinely improve trust rather than feeling artificial or manipulative? Your vision, please.
Thank you. First of all, thanks a lot that this opportunity is here, and I had met Dexian team in Bangalore. Very, very privileged to be here. And this question is very valid because if you really see what AI or Gen AI can do today, the usual perception is text, like ChatGPT, or something text to image, text to video, voice changes. But how can AI, Gen AI solve real life problems? So I'll just give you an example of what we did. You can see that I'm on a wheelchair. This is designed by AI, okay? It's a fantastic chair that is giving me a lot of mobility. The reason is whether in the planet there are about 1 billion people with disabilities, some form or the other, and almost 800 million elders. Here we found an opportunity that we can create a beautiful mobility device through Gen AI. The problem is so complex that if I'm sitting on a wheelchair for 6 to 8 hours, just imagine how things will be. So there are so many parameters that need to be designed. We used all the AI power to actually build 100% customizable wheelchair for each person. There's no one size fits all here. Each and every person has their own requirements. We went to an extent where the AI thought through even the lifestyle. For example, if somebody is working, they could work on the chair, dine, do many things. Even we went to a lifestyle where we have provided a beer chiller and a shisha machine on the chair. Because it's one life, we live king size, okay? To do all this, we built a very strong AI tech, which is serving this very specific purpose. Also, the most important thing is, we are able to make a wheelchair, which we call it as dignity wheelchair, for a person to take it inside the washroom. He can completely be on its own, operate the toilet for, shower, and still drive like a chair. These innovations have happened purely because we let the system imagine, compute data, figure out each and every problem, to a large extent. So this is one of the examples what we feel that AI should really solve problems. In fact, in the last 1 year, we have received literally thousands of blessings of how we have transformed people. As a part of this, I also started a foundation called 100 Billion Smiles. As the name, we want everyone on this planet to smile many times. This is one foundation where we are giving out wheelchairs for free. Highest quality wheelchairs which can perform multiple utilities. Thank you. And dignity is an extremely important thing for a person, and that's why we call it as dignified mobility. In this process, there's also something that we developed to, relieve people out of hypertension, BP, and so many corporate issues. And here, the problem is when people have to get motivated, or, just you take office pressure. I mean, I'm not quoting the 70 hour per week kind of thing, but basically, everyone, nowadays you also see suicidal issues. People are getting driven to so many situations. Here we have again used GenAI to provide musical transformation which is completely tailor-made. So what we believe strongly is, while technology has a great facade and so many things happening, unless we figure out a way to make sure that AI addresses problems, and there's also an empathy factor embedded in this. We have seen these two ventures really do well, particularly, and both are unicorn opportunities, because when I said 1 billion people who are in disability sector, imagine the business potential and what kind of impact it can do. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dr. Ravindra. My next question is to another doctor, Dr. Vikram. While AI-driven personalization can tailor solutions to individual needs, how do we strike the right balance between customizing experiences and respecting user privacy, especially in the domains like health and personal well-being? Your views, doctor?
Thank you. It's an interesting question, but I want to frame it slightly differently. A lot of people have asked me this. I've been in healthcare 24 years, first as a doctor and then doing what I do. And we have come a long way. If you look at the Indian healthcare system today, we've come a long way. I have this joke that south of India, that is, the 5 states and Pondicherry, we are almost like Europe when it comes to healthcare, right? Because our bed per 1,000 population ratio, doctors, nurses, the kind of quality of care that we have today is at par with the rest of the world, at least with most of the world, right? If not the rest of the world. But we still are a very large country. We are 1.4 billion people. There is no country in the world that has a healthcare system that covers so many people, except China, which had the opportunity, and things are not very clear how China has done what it's done. If you look at the US, which is the next comparable country, it's about 340 million people, which is not equivalent to what we have today. While I respect privacy and I know you're going to ask about cybersecurity next, which are concerns. But I think the biggest opportunity for us from an AI perspective is to increase access to care. I think it's a huge opportunity for us. If you expect a doctor who's studied mostly in cities to go to the rural areas and practice, it is not going to happen. And we can't keep producing more and more doctors, because there is a method in which a doctor is created. A lot of empathy, to Dr. Ravindra's point, but also a lot of clinical knowledge, a lot of expertise. I think the access to care problem can only be solved using AI. That's my honest opinion, because I can have an AI system to tell me whether I need to make that trip. I'll give you a simple example. If you go to Ahmedabad, a lot of the patients there are from south of Rajasthan. Because Udaipur is close by, a lot of the cities are close by, but they don't have the quality of care that Ahmedabad does. So you imagine somebody who's a daily wage worker who's making that trip down to Ahmedabad, foregoing his salary, incurring expenses, and we don't know whether he's required to come in or not. That's the saddest part. The doctor will look at him and say, oh, this is good, this is fine, just continue. And 10 minutes later, it's over. Now he makes the trip all the way back. So I think the biggest advantage for us in a industry like healthcare, especially in India, is to use AI tools for diagnosis to increase access to care. Coming to privacy, I think privacy, the DEP Act is out, and a lot of us will have to conform to that. I think privacy is more of a culture. Why certain countries have been more successful in their privacy programs is because they have a culture of privacy from school. I think the privacy guardrails should be there, but I think our first concern as a nation should be, we are in this golden era called Amrit Kal, right? And if you don't believe the rhetoric, that's fine, but there are macroeconomic indicators, including demographic dividend, that's on our side. So we have the opportunity from here to 2047. To Dr. Ravindra's point, why should we look at others and see how they have created the healthcare model? We've created IPL, for example, right? Everybody's familiar with it. This is Chennai, host of Chennai Super Kings. I come from Bangalore. We've never won the IPL, right? So that's okay. I live with that every day. But we created the IPL. Now it is the number one, apart from EPL, it is the largest sports franchise. We created that. We didn't ask somebody, should we do this? Is this the way to play? Right? Then why in topics like healthcare we get so confused and say, okay, should we take their model? Should we look at universal healthcare? Should we look at this model? I think a human AI combination, keeping in mind the needs of our country. So our genotype, phenotype is different. Our disease patterns are different. Our weather conditions are different. We just discussed the difference between Bangalore and Chennai, and we are hardly 250 kilometers away. It's very different from each other. So I think there's a huge opportunity. I don't say we should discard privacy, that should be there. But in my opinion, AI is a huge opportunity. And Gen AI obviously a bigger opportunity than AI. And together we can create a model for healthcare that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world.
Oh, thanks, Vikram. I think you made a very pertinent point. User privacy may not be applicable in India, and every geography is different. So I think that's very enriching. Thank you. My next question goes to Sukumar. Sukumar, how do you think we should be fostering a culture of experimentation, collaboration, and continuous learning to effectively utilize Gen AI to enhance customer experience? Your views, please.
Thank you, Raman. Wonderful question. Culture is close to my heart. And I think the word culture is composed of several mindsets. So when we think of culture, it's actually composed of mindsets. I'll give you an example. I spent 10 years in North America as part of Cognizant. I was head of their manufacturing and logistics practice. I have lost count of the number of times customers would tell me, your people are smart, but you are all order takers.
Yeah.
I don't know your customers say that or not. Why does that happen? I used to ask my customers, can you please give me an example? And they would give me an example. And I could be like, how will we think like that? I will say, okay, maybe we'll get to it later. Okay, whatever. Now, the last 10 years, I've been working on disruptive innovation. And lately, in the last 2 years, using generative AI. And I found something very interesting. And I found the answer to this question about order takers. It turns out that we have a problem mindset. We've been conditioned to think like that. Customer says problem, yes sir, ma'am, we'll fix it. I realized that the disruptors don't actually solve problems. We have studied 1,000 disruptors. And I'll connect to something we have heard today, shortly, so that it becomes easier because you already heard it. I believe they solve something we had to coin a new phrase for called performance under supply. So it seems that when you have an unmet expectation, there is a problem. But the disruptors solve for unimagined expectations by spotting performance under supply. I'll give you 2 examples we heard today. Dr. Krishnan talked about women having to go out into the streets and sell fish. That too in hot sun in Tamil Nadu, Chennai, wherever, is too hot. Now that's how it has been going on for, I don't know, 50, 80, 100, 200 years. But they decided to challenge that, which is a new unimagined expectation. Why can't I just upload the picture of the fish into a WhatsApp group? I don't know what exactly they have developed, but I can go out and buy it. This is a great example of performance under supply and unimagined expectation. Now, Dr. Ravindra talked about why can't the wheelchair be customized to me? Why should there be a one-size-fits-all wheelchair? That is a new unimagined expectation. And he spotted an opportunity and he fixed it. And he's talking about some Very inspiring stuff. Now, how does that apply to you all in Dexian? I will give you a blank check if you can prove to me that any process or system or function that you are running does not have performance under supply. I'll give you a blank check and you can catch it to any amount that I have in my bank account. But I suspect that you won't be able to do it. Okay, so coming back to the question of culture, I believe that we have to build this culture in our companies, the mindset to challenge something that is going on. I could give you an example upon example to show how the disruptors come with that new unimagined expectation, and they don't stop there. They face a lot of obstacles. I'm sure if you speak to Dr. Ravindra or Dr. Krishnan more, they'll tell you about the obstacles they faced in bringing their vision to life. It's not like a walk in the park. There are so many obstacles. So do we have the mindset to overcome those obstacles and still get to the finish line? That is another mindset that the disruptors excel in. There are many other aspects of culture that I'm not going to get into. I don't have too much time. Naman is going to snatch my mic. But these mindsets, I believe, that we have to consciously cultivate in our organizations. And this is what I have been working on for the last 10 years, and prior to that, 15 years in Cognizant, trying to build a culture of innovation over there. Thank you for the excellent question.
No, I think two things stuck with me. Performance under supply, very well stated, and being order takers. That's what Gen AI is, will certainly challenge us. We'll go to our next speaker, my friend and my co-host Ashu. With generative AI rapidly adopted across industries, how do you see its role evolving? Most importantly, will it primarily augment human work, or could it replace jobs entirely? And trust me, this is my question as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for the great ideas on AI and Gen AI that we're all dealing with, right? I guess first, before I answer the question, I know none of us wake up in the morning and we read something that is related to our work or elsewhere that we don't see the term AI and Gen AI, right? So clearly, it's in the mode, and people are trying to experiment with it and create those opportunities. And as you said, mindset is key. So to answer your questions in terms of roles and the jobs changing, I really, whenever I walk into any CIO office, any chief financial officer office these days, and that's the beauty of professional services, you get a variety of problem-solving areas. None of them let me walk out without that question saying, hey, do I need to upskill, change? Will these jobs go away? Everyone is dealing with that idea and that question in their mind. And I think the point of view from the experience that we have had in industry, I've had a lot of work in insurance, retail banking, as well as oil and gas. I see that this technology is definitely being used. It's evolving from the experiment stage into maybe more mainstream. As you said, it's a teen to an adult. I think it's a teen with a new license if he's driving. The key is that whatever people are doing, they're experimenting. They've done a lot of pilots. One of the clients made a facetious statement the other day, said, we have more pilots in our company than Air India, so people know that there's power of this technology. Where do we leverage it for the right business outcomes? What that will do is people will adopt it, and eventually we'll get to a point where it's not questioned, right? AI is going to be everywhere, which it is. This Gen AI is getting tweaked and stuff. It will definitely change the roles. So this fear of new technology, typically, it's in human nature, right? You talked of mindset. Whenever something new comes, we know that we have to learn. So human beings in general, we sense, we decide, we act, and we remember, mostly remember. And that's how the loop works in our brain, right? So people are trying to mimic this with all the systems and computers. We all know that computers do something much better than human brain, is crunch numbers much faster, store data. But the human cognition piece, which we already heard of a little bit, the innovation, not only taking orders, but asking the questions, being really inquisitive, right? Leading to new things within Gen AI. So when I work with a lot of our clients, so new things like prompt engineering, understanding which questions to ask, why so, and really getting to the meat of it, and thinking and collaborating, right? You can never outwork a computer, but you can out-collaborate a computer, right? So the key is that yes, jobs will evolve, jobs are not going to go away, but the skill set that's needed is going to be very, very important, because from our work, a lot of boards are beginning to wake up and say that, you know what, they almost create like a pyramid of training for AI and Gen AI. leadership needs to be trained. We heard Maruf sir talk a little bit about data-driven mindset. It doesn't come easy. You have to be very focused on what the data is telling you. So leadership training, middle management to ask the right questions, and then the execution people. So you've got to have different roles. They will evolve, but AI doesn't go away. It's a power to be tapped into, and the jobs would just evolve leveraging that. No one today talks about saying, hey, I use electricity, or I use internet, right? Likewise, we feel that AI and Gen AI is going to be there, but how it's leveraged, what skills it uses are going to evolve in very fast in the way we're looking at things.
Now, this is a very, very great perspective, because I think adaptive mindset is what all human beings have. And if we can be ready for what change is coming, I think we all will be far and better off. So thank you for all the 4 panelists. Now, I ask a question to all the panelists. And this is my favorite question. Gen AI produces a lot of output. How do we ensure the output is right, especially where misinformation can cause significant risk or poor customer experience? Any one of you want to take this, please?
The thing is, okay, so there are 2 things I will say. I work in the field of creativity and innovation, right? Disruptive innovation. I find that hallucination is a strength in the area that I work in. In fact, I have tested it with about 500 of the 1,000 disruptions that I've analyzed, and in every single case, the generative AI was able to generate the very idea the disruptor did. So I believe that it scores in the top 0.1% of humanity in creativity and imagination. So it's a tool that we can leverage. So in an area where its strength is the ability for it to connect the dots in ways that I don't believe human beings can do. So I would put it to use where its strength is. Now, its weakness, that is also its weakness, that it comes up with things that aren't part of the record. Now, one way companies have tried to do this, and I think it will be familiar to most of you, is retrieval augmented generation, right? You use the local context, feed it things so that it's more accurate and less hallucinatory. We also have in our company created a strategy called expertise augmented generation to guide it using knowledge engineering techniques so that it can produce more and more precise outputs. I don't have the time to get into the details of it, but that's kind of what we are working on.
Yeah. And then just to add to that, right? I mean, we all know that we see the term, the industry calls it hallucination when there's wrong data coming from data or the modeling piece, just to keep it simple, right? So there's wrong data sometimes, there's some bias, as we all call it, in the data as well as in the model, right? To control that, people do talk of a lot of responsible AI, which means you're putting the right governance to kind of control quality or the right pieces of data, right? So from the US to, insurance industry, if someone is being given a loan, for example, you look at the customer data, right? You look at demographics, income, zip codes, and things like that. Now, it could happen that, frankly, some specific demographic gets a better rate versus another demographic just because of the data that was there. So there's different ways that people are trying to explore and say that, hey, the unintended effects of this technology should be controlled. But I would say that from what I've seen, if there's back-end use cases that people are doing, if it's not mission critical, like a self-driving car or a wheelchair, you're forgiven a couple of times, right? So people are experimenting with knowledge management, doing like standard operating procedures and things like that, where once that experiment grows to fruition, that's when they have more confidence in how their processes around data, people, and the systems work together.
Vikram? Yeah.
Just very different context from his, The industry I come from, you can't afford mistakes. The joke we used to have, or at least the serious thought we used to have is, in pacemakers, can you go Six Sigma? Are you ready to accept that one pacemaker that's defective? I think the opportunity for us is clearly in taking a leaf out of what he said, going after disruption. I'll give you an example. If you look at Indian landscape today from a healthcare point of view, we pretty much have figured out cardiac to a great extent. Every discussion is around cardiac, right? But when I look at the heart, and I know it's a critical organ, but it's just a pump. It's a mechanical pump. That's why you don't hear of terms like oncology or cancer of the heart. It's an organ that doesn't even catch cancer. I don't know if anybody has heard of it. I have never heard of oncology of the heart. So what we have is, what really happens is we get to a level and we start polishing what we know, and we keep polishing it till a disruptor comes and shows us, no, this is not it, there is more. If you understand the human body, I think our understanding is about 5 to 10% right now. That's my estimate. We're good at heart, we're good at orthopedics. We've understood, in orthopedics also, we've understood our knees and probably ankles and to an extent shoulder. And these are all mechanical parts. That means we've understood a little bit of the engineering. Where I really am excited about AI is to look at parts we do not understand. There's tons of data on, say, neuroscience. Customer experience is a lot of neuroscience. Why do I like Naman, I don't like somebody else? Or why did he buy this phone with this particular color? Even he can't explain it if asked. That's neuroscience. The customers, we buy things from people, we don't know why we buy them. I think neuro or liver, pancreas, gastroenterology, there's so many areas that we really have done the research, it's distributed, it's fragmented, but nobody has a complete picture. I think AI is a huge opportunity there to start making sense of all the work already done and to see where are the disruptions coming. Is there a better way of treating something? What we have done instead, and this is a problem with the medical community as well as technologists like you, when you come in and you say, oh, doctor decision making can be augmented by AI, and he's going to throw the first spanner into you. You understand what I'm saying? And hospitals don't want that. Hospitals, and a very famous executive vice chairman told me, he said in an open forum, hospitals are places where we keep doctors happy so that they can treat patients. That's what a hospital is. You don't want to make them unhappy. So I think some of the use cases that we have selected, at least in my industry, are almost like a death knell. You want to start off by saying doctors can be replaced, they're never going to make it happen, right? Yeah. But when you come to the other side of the fence, in R&D and research, I see so many clinical trials now being started with AI-driven drugs, based on AI research, AI synthesized drugs. There's a huge section of them. Very soon you will have drugs that are coming out of AI. So I think there's a huge opportunity there, which we kind of don't look because we are not disruptive enough.
So I'll have you know what, I'm supposed to be on vacation and gossip is in my mind. And then Kumar pulled me for this panel discussion. I'm not sure if you guys have watched that Coffee with Karan. I'm not Karan, by the way, so, but I'll try to play a rapid fire with all of y'all. Just answer in less than one sentence or word, all the panelists. Is Gen AI hype or reality?
Reality.
Reality?
Reality.
Very real.
It's not only real, it's surreal now.
Okay, next question. If you have to describe Gen AI in one word, what would it be?
I think it would be a super whiz kid combined with an elderly person with a lot of wisdom together.
I always think of Gen AI as Jarvis to Iron Man. So that was the starting moment. And I said, okay, if this is going to happen, everybody's going to become Iron Man now.
Kind of similar. I have this as, it's an Einstein at your desk.
Ashu?
Smart intern. Infinite energy.
Okay. Now my last question to all of y'all. Ashu, I'll start with you. Can Gen AI be ever wrong?
Yes, it can be. And that's where we need to be careful. Yeah.
Sukumar?
All the time.
I think if humans can be wrong, I always look at Gen AI not as technology, but as another human being. I always start my discussions with, hi, how are you doing? Like I'm talking to a friend. I see the responses are very different. I don't know if you guys have faced it. So if a human can be wrong, so can Gen AI. Right?
Ravindra?
Yeah. One very practical example is on one of the scenarios where we wanted more flexibility and power for our mobility device, we got a Gen AI output with 16 wheels, 4 on top, others everywhere. So this was an actual rendition, but yes, it can always go wrong.
Well, thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, put a big round of applause for our 4 visionaries for sharing their invaluable insight, and I hope you have a great rest of the evening. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We are Dexian. In the business for good.